Hi, I'm Senator Jake Anderegg, Senate District 13, and today I wanted to talk to you about the problem we're facing and the reason for our state tax reform bill. We have currently a structural imbalance. In the Utah State Constitution, there's this protection that separates our three funds. We've got the Education Fund, the General Fund, and the Transportation Fund. The Education Fund comes 100% from your income tax. Sales tax and others go into the General Fund, like severance tax and other things, and the gas tax goes into the Transportation Fund. Currently, the Education Fund is protected in the Utah State Constitution that says that 100% of income tax has to go here and cannot be used for general fund items or for transportation items. So what that does is, you've heard in the media over the last several years that Utah has had billion-dollar surpluses, and that's true. The problem is that the surpluses, by and large, are occurring in the Education Fund, which is the income tax fund. This year, we're anticipating about $440 million of ongoing money and $250 million of one-time money. That's $690 million surplus in the Education Fund. Great, we're all excited, right? Some of you aren't, and I get that. In the General Fund, we've got about a $40 million ongoing and a negative $51 million one-time money. So we are negative $11 million in the General Fund this year, which is the reason we've been talking about this. Our Transportation Fund is about $650 million annually. The problem is that that is not keeping up with demand on the roads. Anyone who's driven in our district knows that we don't have enough transportation, just, Redwood Road, Pony Express Highway. We've got some major issues. The Transportation Fund is not keeping up with it. So here's our issue, is that we have a structural imbalance between these two functional sides of our budget and this functional side of our budget. We are heavy with cash over here, and we have a depleting fund over here. That's the problem. So how do we solve this problem? Well, there's two main ideas that we could talk about. The first is, let's remove the protection. Let's go in and change the Constitution that removes the provision that says that 100% of your income tax goes into the Education Fund. Well, many in the education community will scream and say, hey, that's not fair. We're already not funding education enough, and removing that protection will devastate our state for many generations to come. There's some truth to that. If we were able to pull off some of this money to use it over here, would it help these funds? Absolutely it would, but it would probably be shortchanging education. So there are a lot of us up here in the state legislature that are a little leery of removing this siloed protection for Education Fund. So that brings us to the second possible scenario, which is what the tax reform bill is. And that is talking about a shifting of money before it goes into this pot and shifting it over to this pot. So how is that to be done? Well, what the current tax bill proposes is to decrease this fund $160 million by moving from a 4.95% tax rate to a 4.66% tax rate. That would decrease this fund $160 million. So before the money has a chance to go into this pot, it's going to head over to this pot by restoring the sales tax on food, unprepared foods, and some services. Now, this is anticipated to net increase about $230 million. Well, as you can see, we would decrease or shift the money away from this pot and bring it over to this pot. That is a net increase of about $70 million. So that is $70 million of new taxes that we aren't currently paying. But it does flush this with capital for a decade or so. We should be well in this. But here's the problem with that, is that taxes on services are brand new taxes. Restoring the sales tax on food is a brand new tax, and most people are not used to having those taxed. So the thought is, if you drop this significantly enough, your take-home pay should offset what the new taxes in food should be. In theory, that's what we're looking at. In addition to that, we're talking about doing a 6-cent per gallon increase to the motor fuel tax. So what this will do is this will generate about 40 million plus of new money here. So you can see that the net effect here is about a $110 million tax increase. That's what this bill does. So I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know how you think about it. I'm having a hard time supporting this bill at this point, but I also understand the structural imbalance that we're trying to fix and how important it is, especially that we're already in the hole to begin the year. So I'd like to hear from you. You can reach out to me at jandereg@le.utah.gov, or you can call me at 801-901-3580. I'd love to hear from you. So this is Senator Jake Anderegg reaching out to you saying, hey, we'll catch you next time.